Thank you so much, Leanna. I'm going to share my screen. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and fellow club officers if you're in an officer role. My topic today, how to succeed at succession planning. And in researching for this webinar, I looked back at my Toastmaster transcript and I was shocked. I was very shocked and stunned to learn that I have served as a club officer 19 times in 14 years. And I don't bring up this number to say, great, look how great I am. I've done all this. No, it's because when I joined Toastmasters, I had zero interest whatsoever in being a club officer. I did my best to dodge being a club officer. I was content just to try to get better at my speaking. That was all I could see Toastmasters was for. So I offer this story because even if someone has joined your club simply to be a better speaker or presenter, they can still gain so much and maybe even surprise themselves by what they can gain from the leadership side of being a club officer. In brief, this is our agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about where do you find your next club leaders? How do you identify them? What are the field marks for knowing who can be a leader for you? We'll talk about how you can recruit and encourage them to step up. And then, the fun part and the really satisfying part, you and your club enjoying a smooth transition to a new leadership team for the coming year as of July 1. That's our agenda in brief. And maybe some of you are asking, well, what the heck is succession planning? I think at the basis of planning for the orderly transfer to a new set of officers, you really should keep the club mission in mind, because everything that the officer team does should support that club mission, I think. And to paraphrase, you're going to be providing that positive learning environment where members are empowered to gain communication skills and leadership skills as they gain self-confidence and personal growth. So if you find yourself stuck, maybe reread your club mission statement, and that might inspire you as to how you can proceed. Now, there are a number of different ways that organizations throughout history and across continents and cultures have planned for the orderly succession to new leaders. Let's look at a couple that totally don't apply and that I would recommend you never even attempt in Toastmasters. The British method, the royal family, how shall we have succession? Well, we will start with the oldest one, the king or queen, passing down to the oldest child, preferably a son, but a woman can do for years, as Queen Elizabeth has. Oh, and then we'll go to the next youngest, and then we will go to the children of that one, and so on and so forth. No merit involved. Sometimes ambition is involved. It can be plagued by scandals or upsets or abdications. It doesn't work for Toastmasters. We're a meritocracy and a democracy when it comes to our leader succession. This one we'll call trial by combat, World Wrestling Entertainment Method. And I don't recommend that you try this because there are usually laws on the books against physical attacks on other members of your club. And having taken a brief detour into whimsy, we'll talk about the Toastmaster method. And primarily, I'll talk about how it's worked at our own club. This is a sample shot of our We Toasted club recently, and with a wide range of people, range of ages, range of occupations, range of commitment to Toastmasters, range of interest in being a leader or not being a leader. So we'll see how it goes and see what we can come up as some real positive ways that you and your club can approach the succession planning process. So just to give me a little bit of help to know what you are here for and what role you might have, if you can use the reaction feature to raise your hand if you are a club officer who's serving as a club officer for the first time. First time club officer, meaning you've never done a succession plan. Any raised hands, Leanna?
We have one.
All right. So at least someone here has not gone through this process with the club. May I take it that everyone else has done so? Vast majority of you have done so. Great. Well, then I can learn something from you later on when the question and answer session. How many of you are concerned about finding enough club officers to step up for the next cycle of leadership? Concerns? A lot more hands now, yeah.
Lots. Mm-hmm.
I surely hope we will help you with at least feeling better about the challenge you face to get the 7 positions filled. Great. Thank you so much. Well, this is what succession planning means, I think, in terms of a Toastmaster club. You're preparing to bring new leaders on board. You're going to be engaging with your members. I think really take a look at everyone within your club. Who can bring that fresh energy to get you started in the next Toastmasters year? And while you're adding new elements, how do you also retain the experience or expertise of your current officer club and ensure the continuity of the club and the momentum, whatever momentum you've built up? That's really, I think, what the succession planning can help you ensure that you keep these as at the forefront as you move ahead. And of course, the big question is this: who is going to fill those officer roles? And I know that clubs this year, maybe more than others, have been struggling, many of them, with membership retention as people are zooming around throughout their lives, and maybe they don't want one more Zoom activity in their life. I hope that your club is doing well with membership, but indeed some clubs struggle to find 7 different people to step up. And sometimes you have to, maybe an officer is taking 2 roles. Not the most desirable, but it can be done. I will say that Toastmasters officially says that every club must have at least 3 officers, and that being the president, a vice president, and a secretary. Those for the legal requirement, that's what you must have. But of course, every officer role of the 7 is crucial to a high functioning club. And we want a great candidate for each one of those positions when at all possible. My go-to source for anything related to club leadership is the Club Leadership Handbook. But I was actually dismayed to look through this, and the phrase succession planning isn't in it. It does have a lot of tips on how a club can recruit new members. And it says very little about recruiting officers, very little about what you pass along to the next group. So a lot of what I'll tell you in that follows is based on my personal experience. I want to tell a story along the way too. There's plenty of great information in the club handbook, of course, especially about nominating committees and the timeline for nominating and holding elections and the detail of the elections. So go to the handbook for the election process, election timing, information if you need a refresher on that. That's because there's great tips there. What I found is that clubs that succeed are those that have people who represent the core values of Toastmasters International, that being integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And those are some key traits to keep in mind as you look at somebody who maybe hasn't served in a Toastmaster officer role at their club, but who would be a good candidate and who could be encouraged and urged and helped along to step up. This is the story of Sarah. Leanna, you may remember Sarah from a few years ago. I wanted to use her as an example of somebody that at first we may not have thought she would be a candidate for a club officer, but how did it turn around in our minds? Because here's Kathleen Tully in the witch's hat and Sarah in the fireman's hat, had a great relationship at our club. Sarah was a young employee at We Communications, the PR firm where I was working. She was hired as an intern and then was hired on full time. We found that she had so much enthusiasm. She was brand new in her career. She was brand new in Toastmasters, but she was the one who stepped up every time. When it was Halloween, she wore the funny hat. When we needed new ideas to keep table topics interesting, she could come up with something. And I think crucial, besides that volunteerism and the spirit that she showed, she was somebody who could truly benefit from what Toastmasters was going to offer. Being young in her career, she wasn't yet being given much leadership responsibility. She was expected to attend meetings, but not lead them. She was expected to do things that other people told her to do rather than initiate them. Toastmasters, in our Toastmasters Club, was the opportunity where she could get a head start on some things that her boss wasn't yet giving her freedom to do. So it was a great place for her to be. When it came time for Leanna to put together the world's largest Toastmasters event, which was held downtown at the Pioneer Courthouse Square, Sarah was one of the volunteers on the committee, and this gave her a bigger stage to do the leading table topics for an hour session, I think, one time. It was by knowing our members, knowing what they were capable of, and knowing how they could benefit that helped Kathleen and me be mentors to Sarah. And the result was a great success. Did I mention enthusiasm? This shows Sarah's enthusiasm up front. Our club elected her president. We continued our run as a distinguished or better club, and it brought youthful energy, excitement, and of course, Sarah knew she was taking on a big responsibility as club president, but she thanked Kathleen, she thanked me. She was so appreciative that we thought enough of her to ask her to do this role. That was one success story from our club. And as a reminder, we are a volunteer organization. There's no paycheck to motivate us. It's a hearty handshake and a thank you. So in our club, we try to thank the officers, the incoming officers and the outgoing officers with an officer induction ceremony to honor the work that's been done and to show our support for the incoming group. So make that part of your plan for early in your Toastmaster year. Welcome on the new team. Thank you and appreciation to the outgoing officers. Now thinking back to Sarah and her story, we were asking her to make a gift, really, of her time and her energy. But it's not a one-sided ask, because we're at the same time offering this opportunity to serve, opportunity to do. I think something that motivates so many Toastmasters is help others grow. Once we have mastered some of that growth ourselves and experienced it, we want other people to have that growth opportunity too. And we're helping build the skills they need, either professionally or personally, building confidence, and even credentials through pathways and the Distinguished Toastmaster program. Here's another time. If you could raise your hand again, if you have heard Phyllis Harmon say this to you, I see something in you. I can remember where I was when she said that to me. And that's, I think that's how I came to be an area governor. Yeah. It worked on me, even though I was not at first willing to do it. I was trying to think of as many excuses as I could not to do it. But when someone that you respect asks you, says, will you do this because I see that you have the potential to benefit, that you have so much to bring, that works. That works a lot. And so thanks, Phyllis, for this line that is going to be timeless in the annals of volunteer organizations. You might also think, if you didn't hear this exact line, what did that person say to you that made you say yes? And you can use that line again as you search for officers this time around. A quick look at the timeline. Again, this is outlined in the club officer handbook, club leadership handbook. But start discussing right now with your club officers on the executive committee who is going to take your place, who's going to be the next president, VPPR, et cetera. And start getting to know any of the members that, even if they're very new members and you don't know them well yet, start now to get to know who might have the skills, the expertise, the desire, the ambition to be a candidate. Because it's recommended that at your first meeting in May that you elect a new officer team. And I see that officer training at TLI is on for June 5th for the first big TLI. So it's just 4 months away. And I hope we all appreciate deadline humor. And the part where you can actually sit back, relax, and enjoy comes when you have a smiling, happy officer team picking up the gavel for the first time to lead your club in its successful year to come. This is the enjoyment part that we promised. There's a lot that will happen before you can reach this scene, but I know you can do it. Your clubs are full of people who don't even know how talented and how capable they can be as club officers. And with that, we will conclude the official presentation, and a question and answer session will follow. I appreciate the chance to speak with you today.